This is a story about power and what happens when states confuse words with guarantees. Again and again, history shows the same mistake. Countries make irreversible decisions not because they are weak, but because they believe someone else will step in when things go wrong. They assume protection will arrive automatically. They assume interests will not change. They assume commitments made in calm times will survive moments of crisis. But in international politics, protection is never automatic, and guarantees that depend on someone else's will are the most fragile guarantees of all. This video is about what happens when states outsource their security to someone else's promises. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine inherited one of the largest nuclear arsenals on Earth. Thousands of warheads, strategic missiles, real deterrence. Ukraine faced a choice: keep the weapons or trade them for guarantees. The offer was clear: give up nuclear arms and your sovereignty will be respected. Your borders will be protected. Your security will be guaranteed. In 1994, Ukraine signed. It transferred its nuclear weapons away. It chose integration and assurances over deterrence. For years, the decision looked reasonable. The guarantees existed on paper. Diplomatic language sounded firm. But when pressure escalated into force, those guarantees revealed their limits. Statements were issued. Sanctions followed. But the core reality remained unchanged. Ukraine had surrendered the one asset that could not be debated, delayed, or negotiated away. Libya's leadership believed reconciliation meant survival. The message they received was simple: abandon your weapons programs, open your facilities, rejoin the international system. Libya complied. Its nuclear ambitions were dismantled. Its military secrets were handed over. Its strategic ambiguity disappeared. What followed was not stability, but vulnerability. When unrest turned into intervention, there was no deterrent left, no leverage, no bargaining chip. Libya didn't lose because it resisted too long. It lost because it trusted that transparency would equal protection. Once the door was opened, it could not be closed again. After the Gulf War, Iraq entered a long cycle of inspections and restrictions. Every concession was framed as a step toward normalization. Every disclosure as a path toward safety. Weapons programs were dismantled. Inspectors were granted access. Compliance became the strategy. But compliance did not end suspicion. It prolonged it. The standard kept shifting. The burden of proof never disappeared. Eventually, the absence of weapons became irrelevant to the outcome. Iraq learned a harsh lesson. Disarmament without security guarantees enforced by power creates exposure, not safety. South Vietnam did not collapse because it lacked soldiers. It collapsed because its entire defense strategy assumed permanent external support. Military planning, logistics, morale, all were built on one belief: the United States would stay. But alliances are not emotions. They are calculations. As domestic priorities shifted and costs rose, support weakened. Then it stopped. South Vietnam did not lose a decisive battle. It lost its assumption. When protection is conditional, dependence becomes a liability. Afghanistan's post-2001 system was not designed to stand alone. Its security forces relied on external intelligence. Its air power depended on foreign maintenance. Its political structure assumed continued backing. For years, the system functioned, not because it was self-sustaining, but because it was supported. When that support ended, the collapse was not sudden. It was inevitable. What disappeared was not just military aid, but the foundation the system was built on. Afghanistan did not fail overnight. It failed the moment its survival became conditional on others staying forever. Taiwan exists in a gray zone, protected, but not guaranteed. Its security depends on strategic ambiguity, not explicit commitments. That ambiguity deters aggression, but it also creates uncertainty. Taiwan's lesson is not about trust or betrayal. It's about preparing for the moment when ambiguity collapses. Because when clarity arrives, it usually arrives too late. These cases are not isolated. They form a pattern. States that build their future on promises they cannot enforce eventually face the same outcome. International politics does not punish betrayal. It punishes vulnerability. Trust can exist, but only when backed by leverage, deterrence, and independent capacity. Anything else is not diplomacy. It is risk postponed. Across different regions, decades, and political systems, a clear pattern emerges. States do not collapse because they are weak. They collapse because they outsource responsibility for their survival. Security guarantees, alliances, memorandums, verbal assurances, none of them are binding when power calculations change. History does not punish bad intentions. It punishes misplaced trust. Every actor we examined believed someone else would absorb the cost of escalation, and every time that belief proved false. States rely on others because it is cheaper, politically, economically, and psychologically. Maintaining deterrence is expensive. Maintaining alliances is comfortable. But alliances are not insurance policies. They are conditional arrangements, recalculated constantly. The moment defending you becomes costlier than abandoning you, the equation changes. This is not betrayal. It is arithmetic. And states that confuse relationships with guarantees learn this lesson the hard way. In the modern era, technology, institutions, and diplomacy create an illusion of safety. Multilateral forums replace deterrence. Statements replace readiness. Summits replace strategy. But power has not evolved as much as language has. Force is still the final arbiter. And when crises escalate faster than institutions can respond, only actors with autonomous capacity survive intact. The system rewards preparation, not participation. The most dangerous position in geopolitics is not being opposed. It is being protected by someone else. Because protection can be withdrawn overnight, without apology, without consequence. History is not shaped by who promised what, but by who could act alone when promises failed. The lesson is uncomfortable, but consistent. Those who rely on others to secure their future eventually lose control of it.